And they stay there.
And they stay there. And they stay there. Woo! Happy Monday. Happy Music and Medicine Monday. Woo! Today, I have the tremendous honor of interviewing Dr. Arnelle Wright. She is someone that I have been following for years now on social media platforms, and although she is a young clinician like me, she has trailblazed through our profession. Dr. Arnelle has created a strong voice and a strong presence in our profession. Doctor, if you haven't followed The Daily Dentist yet, you are missing out. Welcome, Dr. Wright.
Hello.
Finally.
Yeah,
baby. When you chose that song for our live today, I was like, oh my God, she is hitting the very core of my existence right now. That's right, baby. You got it all. You got it all. So it's Monday. It's Music and Medicine Monday.
Yes.
Typically, you're in my seat, and our roles have reversed because you have interviewed leaders in our community, leaders in our profession.
Yes.
And I have the privilege and the honor of interviewing you today.
Yes.
So I always start my lives, of course, by asking you to tell me a little bit about your career path and journey. And first, why you even consider dentistry as a career choice?
Of course. Hey, everybody. I'm Dr. Arnelle Wright, socially known as the Daily Dentist, and I'm the new proud owner of Oral Health of Oviedo, which we're going to be talking a little bit more about that tonight. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight, Dr. Julie. Thank you so much for bringing me on your show. I think we're going to have lots of fun because we definitely have kindred spirits, and I think we're just going to be able to share some really good information to both of our communities. So a little bit about me. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a general dentist. I've been in practice for 8 years. And as you heard me just previously say, for the past 8 years, I've been in practice as an associate. And now I'm on a new journey, which it seems like this is the norm with me, is to always be on a journey towards something, which is being a practice owner. I love to do podcasts, as you heard Dr. Julie say. So I am a podcast host for the American Dental Association. Like, dentistry really found me. So if you know any pieces of my story, you know my background. Like, I was raised in a very poverty-stricken or low SES family, and I always like to give props to my family and my mom or anybody that's from my background and my family. If they ever hear me share these stories, I love you so much. You did the best that you could. And actually, it was that from that situation that I developed so much grit that I was able to just pursue big things and be just that conduit for my family to introduce them to something different. But dentistry really chose me. I was just so, I don't know if I should say lost, but I really just had no direction because I'm the first generation or the first one in my family to go to college and do achieve a bachelor's, and then I went on and got a master's degree, we'll talk about that a little bit. And then I became a dentist. And so when I went to get my bachelor's, I thought that I wanted to be an attorney. And so, because, growing up, people would tell me, oh, you speak so well, or you can be argumentative sometimes, you love to debate, because I had started this debate club in high school. And I just really thought that I was just going to be on that law track, and that was just the thing to do. And so I became interested into the sciences because I was like, law's not really for me. But that was when I was a junior. And so I was already so close to graduating with a poli-sci major. But I decided to switch my major as I learned more about dentistry. And I went and started doing some shadowing. And there was just a few dentists who really made an impact on me. And just seeing their vibe and how they ran their teams and their offices, and that they were business owners. There was just so many things that called out to me. And so I feel like I kind of answered the call, and I started to pursue it, and I started to just be intrigued and ask the questions. And then from there, that's how I learned about, the process of becoming a dentist. And then from there, I knew that I had to go take some classes. I had to get my GPA up because at that time I hadn't really taken many sciences other than your gen eds. And so I had to go back and pretty much start from scratch. But that starting from scratch was something that was so good for me. It gave me a second chance. It gave me the opportunity to mature a bit. And so I was one of those non-traditional students. I was older in my class, but But the beautiful thing about that is when I did get in, I hit the ground running. And I never knew that my career would open up the way that it has now. But,
So-
you know, I think it was just, yeah, go ahead, talk about it.
Speaking of those challenges, it is my understanding that you applied and was rejected twice to dental school.
Yes.
How have these barriers to achieving your dream shaped the way that you see life now? Because this is just the beginning for Dr. Wright. There's going to be so many other projects and undertakings that you're going to grow into and learn from and face these challenges. But you've been facing challenges as a minority, as a woman,
Yes, ma'am.
and this is not going to change.
Yes.
And I know this because I'm one myself.
Yes.
So what were these initial challenges? This is speaking to future aspiring dentists.
Absolutely.
How did these initial challenges later shaped the way you view entrepreneurship now in this season of life, but just in the beginning stages of, you know, just powering through and getting to your objective, which was getting into dental school?
Yeah, you know what? It just let me know like that I cannot be stopped. Like if I really, really want something and I really put my mind to it, I always like to say to my mentees, I always want to know what I can do. And so if you stop prematurely, then you never get to see what the end is going to be. You never get to see what you could have accomplished. And so having those rejections, it taught me that, okay, I could have looked at it, I could have been a little sour about it and being like, oh, you know, I could have had the victim mentality, like, oh, no one wanted me. But then when I started to really like become very introspective and say, well, you know what? They actually knew a little bit more than what I knew. You know what I mean? Like they've done this before. And now on the other side, like once I finally got into dental school, like even just like day one, week one, semester one of my first year of dental school, I was like, yeah, I was not ready to be in dental school. Although it sucked that I had to learn the hard way, but I also got to have a lesson and a story to tell so that somebody else could like avoid going through that type of rejection if they just knew like what I didn't know at that time. And so I'm not a dream killer. So when it comes down to mentoring the next generation, one of the things is like I'm like the ultimate hope dealer. Like I believe that you can do anything. One, because according to statistics, according to society, I shouldn't be in half of the places that I am, but because of grit, determination, hard work, networking, you know, making sure that I put my best foot forward as much as I can. I try to give it 100%. Every once in a while I do miss the mark because, you know, we are all human, but I always
Part of the process.
Exactly. It's definitely a process, and I really do enjoy the journey of becoming and the journey of evolving. And so one thing that I always share with my mentees is you have to stay the course. Like if this is really what you're called to do, then it doesn't matter how many times you are rejected. That it doesn't even embarrass me anymore because it's kind of like, look at what can happen.
That's right.
Like, it still happened. You know what I mean? And
What
so
I'm hearing is that all of these challenges you converted into opportunities for growth. You just
Absolutely.
self-reflection and you said, hey, you know, I've been rejected twice and maybe, or in fact, you said this is I wasn't ready yet. This
I
was
wasn't
not
ready.
right. This was for a reason. And now that I'm in, I'm sure you faced. I mean, who doesn't face challenges in dental school? You know, but I'm sure you grew from that and you know kept moving forward. So I love that. I love that
as well. Just very similar to you, I'm really big into growth. So I have this other platform that I started called Being and Becoming Your Best, and I still believe in that. It's just a personal growth thing where, you know, I help women be their very best selves, put their best foot forward, because I really had to do that for my career and for my life. And I feel like if you get better as an individual, everything will start to shape up and line up for you. And so that's kind of what that's all about. So I too love a lot of the growth stuff. I'm here for it.
Speaking of leadership roles, you have been a leader and a strong voice in our profession.
Thank you.
How have those leadership roles, being on the spotlight, we have a tremendous amount of responsibility when we have platforms like these to lead by example. So how have you navigated that new role as a leader in our profession? And what do you feel like are good attributes of a leader? What do you feel like? What do you feel like? What does it take to be in your shoes?
Oh, that's so good. So in order to be a leader, first of all, I think there's different types of leaders. So, and I show up as, I have to put on different leadership hats depending on like the room that I'm in or the role that I'm playing. So for instance, for one, so you have to be versatile. Let's just say that, and you have to have adaptability. You got to be flexible. Those are all very important leadership skills and leadership characteristics that you have to possess, or you have to develop them. So I feel like I'm a naturally adaptable type of person. So for instance, in my day-to-day within the practice, I'm leading my team, but I'm also leading the patients to optimal care. So I have to be a good communicator. I have to set the tone and share what my expectation is for the team. Because I believe, and I always say this to my team, in any work setting that I'm in, I'll always say it's unfair for me to have an expectation of you that I've yet to communicate to you, and that I haven't given you time to perfect, and then I haven't followed up on if you're missing the mark, if that makes sense. So
accountability, baby. That's
exactly.
right.
There you go. Yeah, one word, sum it up. So I describe that to my team, and then with the patients, I'm leading them to optimal care. So I have to talk to them about what I see. And some of those conversations are uncomfortable. So you have to be willing to be in uncomfortable settings. And you have to assert yourself very well. And so now go ahead, let's talk about it.
I need to dive into that a little bit more, because I am all about creating space in our profession, especially as a Black woman. What situations have you found yourself in? With, like I said, with great leadership comes great responsibility. How have you made more space and opportunity for women and minorities like us in our field? I mean, I can even answer that for you because I see you and you're leading by example, but I want you to answer that.
I know it's so hard to like say all of these things about yourself, but that's another thing, another leadership trait is you have to be able to talk about yourself, not in a cocky or an arrogant way, but in a very assured way, like in a certain way. And so the way that I'm paving the way for other minorities and for other women is like when I show up in a room, one, I like to look my best. I like to be my best. I like to know who's going to be in the room. I try to remember people by their names. I'm really big on personal touches, and I'm the same way with my patients. Like I like to get to know who am I going to be seeing that day. And as it relates to leadership, you read the room very, very well. You have to understand like the tone and the vibe of the room so that you can navigate it a certain way. And so that could be a little bit of strategy. It could be a little bit of me just being my normal self. But for me, I feel like when I show up in the room, I want to make sure that, because I know that they're like one day people are going to refer to me as like a titan or as a giant. And I'm not saying that arrogantly, but people, they're just like, oh my gosh, you're doing so much. And I'm like, that's responsibility. So I want to make sure that I carry that and I honor that and I steward that. And so there are times when we say yes to entirely too many things, and it doesn't give you the opportunity. Doesn't give you the opportunity to be a good steward. And so one thing that I'm learning as a leader is that like no means yes to something else. And when you say yes to a whole bunch of things, it means no to other things. And so you have to
sometimes it means no to yourself.
Correct. Oh, oftentimes it means no to yourself.
That's something
and to your family
that I struggle with.
Yeah, same.
Yep. And there's so many things that you and I just, oh my God, before I forget, I've been so enthralled by you, and like just there are interviews that I have a surprise for you and I completely forgot. Before we get into the next segment, here, I have something special for you because it turns out that I started following you on social media platforms, but guess what? Hold on.
No, I know.
Wait a minute. What are you doing?
Yes.
You remember me?
Yes.
You remembered me?
Hair.
Yeah! So we actually, look, who's this? Hold on.
Yes.
Who's this?
Yes.
That's you!
Yes.
In 2007, that's me. In 2007, we attended the Summer of Learning program for underserved students, right? I think.
Yeah.
In UFCD. Look, that's us! Yes! Blast
I didn't know
from the
you.
past, baby. We go
Yes,
way back.
we do.
And when I saw you, and then I was looking at other pictures of the group, and not all of us made it to dental school, Arnelle.
I know.
I mean, it's been a long journey for me as well, and I completely lost in touch with, you know, several of our colleagues. And I mean, some of these individuals I still keep in touch with, but then when I saw you, I was like, hold on a second.
Way.
Yeah, so I looked at these pictures and I'm like, I have to show her. I have to show her. So here we are. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of you, girl.
I'm so
Look,
proud of you.
that's me and that's
where
you.
Did you get these? You had these?
I did. I sure did.
That's wonderful. That is, so I've always known. Look at us. Oh my God. I had braces.
This is priceless right here.
Is.
We go way back. We go way back, baby.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't know you had all of those photos. Like, I think I only have the one from the formal one from the program.
Nope.
That's wonderful.
Nope, I got it all. And I'm so happy I did. So let's reel it back in. Let's reel it back in because there is a lot has gone down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, so you graduated, you survived dental school, and I say survived because I sure feel like I survived dental school.
Same. I definitely survived.
And then so you graduated, and you went off to practice dentistry, and you started in a DSO setting, okay, which has become more and more popular, with time. I did the same. So after 8 years of practicing in a DSO setting, you have ventured into entrepreneurship. But I want to know what made you make that shift into practice ownership. And there's several models of that, and we're going to get into that for people that are interested in business ownership. But what made you shift from a DSO model, which is, by the way, people that are not in the dental field, it's a supporting organization that supports dentists to support them in all the administrative tasks of dentistry, right? So how did you transition into ownership?
So you know what, I realized very early on that I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I didn't know this, but once towards the end of dental school, like third year, I started to realize that I just have a passion, or I love creating systems. I love creating just manuals, and I love operations and setting people up for success. I started to notice there's a whole different side of dentistry that we don't really get to dive into. And then once I went into practice straight out of dental school, I realized I was like, whoa, there's a whole nother world out here. And so I happen to be very organized. I happen to be very attention to detail. And most of us as dentists, we are. But there are some people who just absolutely hate the business side and they hate that operation side.
Right.
But I would dive into reports. We would have a morning huddle every morning with my first DSO. I worked at 2 DSOs. And so for the first one, we would have a morning huddle. And it really wasn't for the doctors. We weren't required to be on the call. But I was always interested and intrigued by what they were saying. And I would notice that some of the auxiliary staff, they would kind of just be hanging. And I'm like, you guys, this is good information. This tells you how to perform well. And because your compensation is tied to your performance. So I would interpret, and I would take the insights and bring it back to the office. And I just realized that I loved that just as much as I loved the clinical side of dentistry. But I didn't really know what to do with it. In my mind, I thought that I had to put in a certain amount of time in order to become an owner. And so I also thought, because I love this operations side so much, that I always knew that I would be a practice owner, but I thought that I would buy into an existing entity. So like a corporate.
That was my next question. What type of business model? Because there's many different business models. One of them is buying into a DSO setting. There is ground up construction. There is acquisition, which means you buy an existing practice. There's de novo, which is you build from zero. You build a practice within a space already and you lease. So there's so many paths to ownership.
Yeah.
So which one did you choose?
So I did a practice acquisition. And by the way, I was in talk with both of my DSOs. There were opportunities for me to buy. One of them had equity. one of them did not. And so after I realized and understood the value of equity as it relates to my ownership status, I was like, okay, I have to be in a situation that provides equity to me because I have kids. Yeah. And being that I'm first generation, so what really started to happen was I chose a different word of the year. I'm into all of this like kind of woo-woo stuff that people say is like, oh my God.
Tell me more.
Yeah. So my word of the year this year is legacy. And I didn't really understand what that would mean and how it would just manifest like almost immediately after I chose it. But I felt like it was God being like, all right, it's time for you to make a legacy move, because I had never accepted any of the offers to buy into my most recent corporate job. And so it just seemed so good, but I didn't have like that equity. I didn't have that freedom, that autonomy to really put my creativity and my leadership and everything to use. And I was like, well, I really want to climb the corporate ladder, so I'm just going to stay. And I stayed and stayed and stayed. And then I just felt like all of the peace had lifted off of the work setting for me. And I was like, wow. So I literally, like, God is forcing me out of this situation.
I love it.
And so back to leadership and relationships and networking. I don't know if we talked much about this yet. I'm sure we will dive into it deeper. But having relationships in the dental community, not only with dentists, people will tap you and say, hey, there's an opportunity becoming available, or that's coming available. I think you should look into it. And that's pretty much what happened. The office was listed maybe like a week or so. And so I was like, I definitely want to see it. I went and I saw it. I put in an offer, and the offer was accepted. And so that started the process. And I was like, holy crap, what have I done? Like, I was just,
sometimes when things happen, you can't think it, because you just got to do it. Take the plunge.
Get it in your own way.
That's right.
Because, again, nobody in my family has ever done that.
And you know what?
Ever.
I think you were prepared since day one.
Thank you.
Since day one.
I agree. Yeah. I agree.
We self-sabotage. Imposter syndrome is real. Mm-hmm. And I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself that I worked in a DSO setting as well, and I got very comfortable. And comfortable is not the friend of progress. It's the enemy of progress, in fact. Yeah. So I knew right then and there that I had to shift. Mm-hmm. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And there's a lot of things that I'm sure you learned from that. What are some of the things you learned in a DSO setting that you aspire to incorporate in your own clinical setting, your own practice?
Let's just talk about the operations side 100%. Yes. Like, you get exposed to it because it's right there. Now, granted, you don't have to lean into operations when you're in a corporate setting, but it called out to me, and I was like, what else am I doing? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If I'm in between patients, or in the mornings, like I said, when they have those huddles, I would just be there as a bystander, not knowing that this is information that I've never been exposed to until I was exposed to it. Mm-hmm. It's like we knew the clinical side, so becoming more confident with different patient populations, with different patient age groups. So they were becoming confident with insurances, understanding that, and having the opportunity to sit at the front desk, having the opportunity to talk with the expert who managed that part of the practice on my behalf. So for me, I'm really like nosy when it comes down to different roles in the practice, especially, and I say I'm nosy because we have a license, right? We've worked our whole entire lives for this one piece of paper. That's our golden ticket. And so when I have someone who's managing my golden ticket and they're signing off on things in my name, meaning like sending claims on my behalf, if they're collecting money on my behalf, or they're doing anything on my behalf, I kind of want to know what you're doing, because I need to know what the liability is that's attached to your role in managing my name and my golden ticket. So just being involved that way, and just being like, hey, let me kind of look over your shoulder a little bit and learn a little bit more. Let me hear how you answer the phones, because again, everybody in the practice is your representative. And so for me, thinking that way, I always would want to know and make sure that everything is done a certain way, and that it represents me well. So the practice really taught me how to lean on my team, how to trust my team, although there were some struggles that I did have. I'm not gonna lie, and because you don't necessarily hire all the staff in the corporate setting, and so that was a hard.
There's a lot of turnover as well.
Exactly, and so that navigating that struggle. So that's something that I've learned. I'll be able to create the culture that I want from the jump, from the beginning. And so that's one thing that I'm definitely going to be incorporating, is just making sure that there's a very clear culture established in our practice, a culture of excellence, a culture of leading the patients to optimal care. What does that mean for this particular patient? Even though we have very cookie cutter approaches to dentistry from a textbook perspective, you still have to tailor everything to the patient and the data that walks in the door and that's sitting in your chair.
That's right.
And so that's something that I learned, that I can't just do everything for everybody. It's not one size fits all, you know?
Absolutely. And you're leading.
I can go on and on.
I love it. I love it. And you're leading with those core values. And once you have those core values set, you're developing that culture. So what are you most excited about now that this is your baby? Now you can create from day one, just like you said.
Yeah.
You know, what are you most excited about, and what are you most nervous about?
So I'm most excited about, it's actually, both of them are the same, and I'm going to tell you from both angles. So I'm most excited about having full autonomy to lead and train my team in the way that over the past 8 years I've thought about in theory. I get to put it into execution and see if my theories have been right, and I get to prove myself either right or wrong. And I know I'm going to have to pivot a little bit, and at the same time I'm most nervous about that because I'm coming into a situation where there is an existing team. They're used to doing things a certain way, and they're used to being under the leadership of a more seasoned doctor who, had different approaches to leadership or to managing the practice. Approaches to care. We have a lot of alignment in our approach to clinical care, but sometimes our rationales may be different, or sometimes our sequencing may be different. The way we explain things may be different. And so I think as it relates to the team, that's what I'm most nervous about. And I'm also most excited about because I always see myself as a mentor, and the majority of the team, for the most part, I think they may be older than me. Maybe one might be younger than me, as far as I know. And that I'm a little bit worried about, but I feel so far they are dialed in, they're excited, and they're like, wow, this is different, but we're here for it. And so that really gets me excited because they've been with the practice for a long time. And I actually want to honor the fact that they've been there as pillars for a long time for our patients' sake. You know what I mean? I feel like I can manage the patients. That's not going to be the difficult part. I haven't had to really take control and leadership of the team. I've been able to, in theory, put some of my thoughts into practice, but now they're really mine, and I get to be creative. I get to use social media. I get to do video and bring them into a whole new world. And I feel like I get to lead and raise them up and show them what their career could grow to be, because we're not going to be here always. The goal is to expand from day one. They've known that from day one since I stepped foot in that practice. And so speaking of social media, you have a very strong presence in social media. How do you incorporate presence now?
How do you hope to incorporate social media into the practice, or the practice into social media?
So I've actually already started. So I've hired a team of videographers, photographers, people that are going to capture what it's like, so pretty much day in the life, because today's future dentists, that's what they're doing. And so before they get there, they want to know what my life is going to look like. And so I want to showcase day in the life content. I want to incorporate team meetings so people can see what it's like to actually lead and run a business. Because so often, I know most of the people who follow you and I, for instance, they want to be the doctor. They want to be the dentist. But there's a whole different side, as being the operator and being the person that, as a dentist, you're generating the revenue by clinical procedures, right? But then as the owner, you're also in charge of payroll, different insurance policies, making sure that we have these systems and workflows in place. And so I kind of want to showcase a lot of the behind the scenes of that through social media.
I love it. I can't wait to see you grow into all those different roles. And speaking about a very important role, Arnelle.
Yes.
And we're going to get to a sensitive topic here, is motherhood. Okay. And how we manage and balance these roles. So not only are we clinicians, which we devoted so many years to become this professional, and we're still evolving and we're still learning. Now we have to put on the hat of entrepreneurship, and you're a new mom as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, how do you foresee yourself navigating through all of these layers of complexity in our life? And what does that support system look like for you? I have an idea because I follow you, but just in case, talk to me a little bit about what that looks like.
I always like to give props to my husband. He is phenomenal. Without him, I wouldn't be able to do half of the things that I do. Like all of.
Is he going to be in the practice? Is he going to be involved in the practice, or?
Yeah, eventually. Like he's going to take some time. So he started taking some classes online. He's understanding procedures. Yeah. So
my husband did the same. So we can totally.
There we go there.
Yes.
Yeah, we can talk about this offline.
Absolutely.
I would love that.
Absolutely.
And so I really want him to I always like to give him his flowers, because you know, people see us women like, you know, dominating in our careers, but it's like, okay, what's really happening is that even right now when we're recording this, my husband is doing bath time with the kids.
Exactly.
My husband made sure that the kids had their dinner. I dropped them off at baseball. You know, I stayed at baseball for a little bit. I ran some errands, came home to make sure that I can get on this call. And then he like picked up where I left off. So he met me at the baseball field and made sure that, you know, the boys, we kind of tag team out. And I'm like, okay, babe, I got to get home so I can get on this call at 8. So the support is really there. And if I had any advice, I would just say lean in on that support, and again, communicate what you need. So we have like Sunday meetings or like a Zoom out every week where we just kind of sit on the couch. It's nothing formal. We just sit on the couch and we're like, okay, let's open up phone calendars and let's just make sure we're on the same page on who's picking up who on what day. Do we have the clothes ready? Do we have the food ready? Are we eating out this night? Are we like, what are we doing? You know, so because it gets crazy. Because my kids are involved in a lot of sports, which we love, but it can be very taxing, especially with all that I have going on, you know.
Are you traveling? Are the boys traveling as well? Because I haven't gotten to that season yet. Are they traveling?
Like sports?
Yes.
Yeah, but you know what? Right now, everything is in state. Thank goodness. So they're not going.
But
out
still,
of state, right? I know.
But still,
it's a lot.
Whew.
Yeah.
I gotta learn a lot from you, Arnelle, or Dr. Wright. We gotta connect. We gotta connect.
We got this.
So you know, you're a yes person, and I can absolutely relate to that. How do you find? Where do you put those barriers? How do you, you know, stay intentional? Yeah. Or, you know, and kind of just say, this is the time for family time, you know, I'm not having any interruptions here. Or how can you know, when you're intentional with your family, how do you make that happen? How does that work for you in your world? Because there's always something kind of, you know, turning wheels up there. I can see it, I can feel it, I know it, because you and I have similar energies.
Very true.
So how do you pivot? How do you say, hey, I got to turn off my entrepreneurial mind right now, and I have to be present with my boys? And we have 2 boys as well.
Oh, yay! Oh, gosh. It's so fun. They're such a blast. Oh, my gosh. So turning off my entrepreneurial brain, like, so Friday night, for instance, that's like our family time. So once I get home, I try and put my phone away. Usually I'm always, like, filming, though. So, like, I won't, like, necessarily be on socials, but I'm always, like, filming them, because, like, their interactions with each other is just priceless. For instance, so, like, we will play, like, Uno, or we'll do checkers, or we'll do all of these different things, you know, together as a family. We watch movies together. Whenever we're sitting on the couch and doing movies, or if we're just kind of hanging and, like, vegging out around the house, like, those are the times when I'm just, like, quiet and I'm just hanging with them. So I try to be, like, between my husband and I, we try to go outside with the boys. Sometimes they'll ride their scooters to a friend's house, and that's my time to walk with them. In the car, I'll be like, hey guys, tell me about your day. Not just how was your day. Like, I want to know a little bit more about your day. I want to know like what was good about it, what was terrible about it, what would you have changed. So we kind of do some highs and lows, which they're starting to learn what the highs and lows are.
Okay.
But we kind of do those things. And so I just feel like I'm always trying to capture the moment, because like I have this thing where I always want to have, always want to remember. So like, you know how people say we're creating memories. So like usually if I'm on my phone, it's just for me to capture like, all right, are they doing their scripture? Are they reading their books? Like what words are they using at this age and stage of their lives? So yeah, beautiful. I don't know. I just feel like I just go with it for the most part. That's what you have to do. You know?
Exactly. You can't be too type A like we are in dentistry, because that's not the way kids work in general. So, Dr. Wright, the future is so bright. Yes, there's going to be challenges, but we know that God willing, you are going to power through and you're going to continue to learn and you're going to continue to evolve. So what's in the future for you? What can we see? What is your vision for the next 5 years? What projects do you aspire to, you know, to make come true, you know?
The main thing,
fill me into the future.
Question. Yeah, let's take a sneak peek in. The main thing that I want to do is definitely grow my practice. And when I say grow my practice, I want to grow it from multiple aspects. So I really want to make sure that I'm laying the groundwork for the next generation. I want to be able to invite them in and show them show them the business side, to be honest with you, because that's the side that people struggle with. People want to be business owners until it's time to be a business owner. You know what I mean? And so I feel that with some of my organizational skills and leadership skills, communication, all those things, I have a natural knack towards business ownership and entrepreneurship. Like I can kind of just figure out things and I can get in, and I like to get my hands dirty. I like to have my hands to the plow. And so I really want to make sure that the practice is a conduit for somebody else's growth. I want to make sure that, my colleagues see me as a reputable source. I want to make sure that my brand grows. So as you know, I don't know if you know, I have a podcast called Dental Femme, and I have like a women's network called Dental Femme. That's really near and dear to my heart because like you mentioned, you didn't say this word, but we are multi-passionate women in dentistry. We are clinicians. You're a periodontist, so you're a surgeon, you know what I'm saying? You have all of these things. You're a wife, you're a mom, you're showing up, you've built your brand. So those are so many things. And I feel like there's a whole world of up and coming dentists and then current early career dentists that are like, how do I do what you're doing? And so
absolutely, especially in underserved communities like the ones that we grew up in. I feel like we have to set the stage and be a source of inspiration, to those individuals who have faced many challenges, mountains of challenges, not only to become doctors, not only then to aspire to, be entrepreneurs or there's so many barriers to ownership as well. I mean, I had no idea when I came out of my periodontal surgical residency. I thought that the only avenue was private practice setting, and that was not the case. This is not something that they educate us on in dental school. So there's so much impact, positive impact that we can make to our future generations. And you were talking about legacy and the legacy that you're going to leave behind. Not only it's not only going to be for your children, it's going to be it's going to impact so many other lives, so many other aspiring clinicians and women. I mean,
leaders, speakers, podcasters.
Right.
That's right. Like, I just want to bring all of those women in my world together and say, hey, I might not have all the answers, but Dr. Zuli may. And she's actually a person that's in this community. You know what I mean? Like, won't you tag her? Because she's right there in your area. She's the best person for you,
That's right.
So that's really what I want to do. And I love that you recognize that my legacy isn't only for my children. Like, they're a part of it, of course. But there are so many people that look up to you and I that I would be just doing such a disservice to our profession, our field, and to the talents that we've been giving by keeping it all to myself. You know what I mean? So
here we go. Here we go, baby. All we do is win, baby. And when we don't, we still make it happen. Somehow, some way, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. There we go. Here we go. Where's my music? Where's my music? Power up, baby. It's Monday. We need energy to rock and roll. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Hey, hey. Remember this date.
Yes.
Dr. Wright, remember this date because we're going to go back to it. And I said, this happened when I interviewed you.
Yes.
Okay? Remember this, all right? Love you, girl. Love it tonight. Take care. My pleasure. Good night, y'all. Bye.